When you think of full-size luxury sedan brands, what comes to mind first is most likely Mercedes, BMW, Audi, and Lexus. And they are most likely all over 6 figures. Until now, introducing the Genesis G90. This is Hyundai's luxury brand. Now, many manufacturers have a separate brand that is supposed to be their luxury brand. That's what Hyundai is hoping to do with the Genesis. Now, I think they might have a little ways to go because Hyundai already made a model called the Hyundai Genesis. This is just called the Genesis. They come in the G90, G80, and this is the top dog, G90. So in today's video, we're gonna see how the Genesis actually stacks up against the very competitive full-size luxury sedan segment. Now, one area where it is very competitive in the segment is pricing. This is a fully loaded, fully optioned Genesis G90, and it's $75,400. However, it's still a Hyundai. I know it's called a Genesis, it's its own brand now. They haven't really been able to differentiate themselves quite yet. So, let's find out what you actually get when you buy a $75,000 Genesis. Now, before we continue on with the video, I want to give a special thanks to Wright Hyundai, located in Wexford, for providing the vehicle in today's review. All their contact information along with their inventory will be provided in the description below. So we'll start with doing a traditional walk around of the Genesis G90 and see what it looks like from every angle. And we'll start up front here. Now we have a big grille, of course, full LED headlights, LED daytime running strips down here. Now as we continue to the side of the vehicle here, we have 19-inch wheels all around the car. It is a good size vehicle, as it should be. But it's when we come to the rear, at least myself, in my opinion here, it actually looks like a high-end vehicle. I don't really know what it is. I think it's the taillights mainly, which are LED as well, of course. And we got a dual tip exhaust setup. And here we have a 5.0 badge, which is very interesting. And we're gonna talk more about this as we drive the car and when we get back up to the hood here. But the Genesis comes in 2 engine alternatives, and this is actually a 5-liter V8. It's also all-wheel drive. Genesis calls it the H-Track. And for anyone that is interested in knowing, since it varies, the gas cap is on the driver's side. But before we take a look at interiors and everything, we are going to pop the hood. Gives a nice little sound when you pop the hood. And as we mentioned here already, this is the 5-liter V8, which is the top engine alternative for the G90. This produces 420 horsepower and 387 pound-feet of torque. Now, if you don't want a V8, you can opt for the 3.3-liter 6-cylinder twin turbocharged with 365 horsepower and 376 pound-feet of torque. Now, both engines are mated to an 8-speed automatic transmission. Now, one interesting thing to note between the 2 engine alternatives is that the 3.3-liter V6, less displacement, less power, less torque, only has better fuel economy in the city. EPA ratings are at 17 miles per gallon, while this V8 right here is at 16 miles per gallon. Both engines having a highway MPG of 24. So the choice is yours. Would you want a 3.3-liter V6 in your G90 or a 5-liter V8? Now, as our tester today has the V8, we of course have to do a startup. Yeah, and with it being a luxury sedan, we couldn't expect much, but it's still a V8. Now, trunk space in the G90 is pretty good. Now I'm 6'2", and if me jumping out of the trunk of the G90 is any kind of reference as to how many golf bags, for instance, you can keep back there, how much luggage, grocery bags, that kind of thing, I'm not really sure, but that's up to you. So with the trunk space information out of the way there, what I think we should do is jump in the driver's seat. Before we do that, we'll take a look at the key here. Nice looking key, very self-explanatory, nothing complicated. Lock, unlock, trunk opener, and then oh, yeah, honk alarm horn button. Now we're actually just going to jump in the driver's seat for a minute, and I'll explain here why very, very soon. Now first we're going to start up the car. Now if we turn the car off, no piano song there, very, very nice. Start it back up. And the reason for a very short driver's seat visit here was so we could start the car up. We will of course revisit this position here when we drive the car later on in time. The G90 is probably the first car that I've ever experienced, at least, where I want to spend more time in the back seat. And here's why. It is absolutely amazing back here and very, very comfortable. Let's take a look at what you actually experience as a passenger in the G90. Oh yeah, it is absolutely awesome back here. And this is why. The rear seat entertainment system back here, the comfort and tech that you get is very, very impressive. So I don't really know where to start, but let's just start clicking some buttons here. So if you move the seat up, look at that. It is so comfortable back here. Like we've said already, I'm 6'2". Look at all the leg and knee room that I have here. I'm obviously sitting behind my driver's position as well. Now you can even adjust your headrest. Look at that. That is just so cool. And the rear passengers even get cooled seats. It's 92 degrees out here today, so I'm sweating a little bit, but it's just so nice back here. Very, very comfortable. Have our own climate controls. Can up the fan here. Choose where we want the air to blow. Now the rear sunshade can be controlled from here as well. Now since I'm sitting behind the driver, I don't have the same controls for the passenger seat up front that this passenger would have. Let's say you have someone sitting back here and they want more leg room. They can actually get the passenger seat to move up. The backrest, everything. Isn't that awesome? Look at that. That's amazing. Now we got lumbar support here as well. We even have memory settings for different rear passengers. Usually you just see that up front for drivers. But here's the coolest thing. So we're gonna turn on our 10.3-inch screen right here. Look at that. And we got a full multimedia system back here. So if we click the home button, we have our little menu here. We can scroll through media, map, you can get your navigation. It's like you're sitting in an airplane seat or something. Sirius XM, you have setup here, weather information, radio, and I can turn up the volume back here. That might be slightly irritating for the driver up there. Dude, what are you doing back there, man? Just shut up. Yeah, basically you have power back here. It is absolutely awesome. Then we have a little armrest console right here. When you push this out, in the beginning I didn't know better, but you only have 12 volts here. So I was expecting to have some USB ports. But don't worry, when you open this up, you have one right there. And another 12 volt also. Possibly we could have had another USB port there, but yeah. So we have air vents all around the car here. It is just a very, very pleasant place to be. And check this out, we got vanity mirrors in the ceiling. Got our own little light button right here. That might not be something new here, but it's very, very comfortable. More lights back here, of course. This is the feeling you should have in a luxury sedan. You should almost want to sit in the rear seat more than being a driver. Cooled seats for rear passengers. But with all that being said, let's jump back into the driver's seat of the G90, because you will have to know what it feels like to drive it if you are unfortunate to not be a passenger. All right, so look at this big speaker here. We got a Lexicon 17 speaker system that will listen to more when we go for a drive. You heard a little bit while I was still in the rear seat, but very nice high quality feel in the door panel here. Thick leather, window controls. We got lock and unlock for the door, the mirror controls, nothing out of the ordinary. We got memory seatings for different drivers, of course. Now the driver's seat is a 22-way power seat. The passenger only gets a 16-way power seat. But we got Napa leather, white contrast stitching, and these seats are very, very comfortable. All right, so once you're in the driver's position of the G90, and again, I don't want to overuse this term here, but it is a very, very nice place to be. Now what I'm comparing this to is, of course, an S-Class. And as soon as you get in here, does it feel like an S-Class? I would say it's pretty much as comfortable as an S-Class. It's not quite as good looking. But if we start with some negatives here, the levers, like for the turn signal, the windshield wipers, answering buttons for your phone and that kind of thing, they look like they were taken straight out of, let's say, a Hyundai Sonata or something like that. And that is a little bit of the downside when a brand creates a luxury brand like Hyundai has done with Genesis here now. They'll take a few parts here and there and put it on the nice car. I feel like they should completely differentiate themselves, which I think that this G90 has done pretty well. But there's still a couple things that as soon as you get in, it kind of cheapens the look of the car. Now we have tons of safety and tech features, of course, which I'll go through here quickly. We have 9 airbags all around the car. Now we have an excellent 360 camera. Fantastic resolution on this 12.3-inch screen. So you have your backup camera right here, 360, and then you have partial navigation right there. I'm very, very impressed by that. Now we have heads-up display as well, good resolution on that also. We have high beam assist, so if you're driving at night and you have that feature turned on, it automatically turns your high beams on and off if a car is coming towards you. And of course we have rain sensing wipers also, which is a must. Now we won't have to use them today as it is a very, very nice day in Pittsburgh. Now we have an analog/digital instrument cluster. So a pretty classic tachometer right here and speedometer. And then we have this 7-inch digital information screen in the middle, which you toggle through with this button right here on the right side of the steering wheel. So this basically has all the basic information, digital speedometer, fuel economy, and so on. Now what I really like is this center stack right here. It is a lot of buttons, but not too many buttons to make you completely confused. They're very self-explanatory. So we have, radio and media buttons right here for your phone. This is the volume control right here. I like that it's not too big. And then we have our climate controls right here. Now, most cars, of course, have dual climate control where you can set the temperature individually for driver and passenger. Now, in the G90, you also get your personal fan speed buttons here. So this is just for the passenger side, and then you have for your left right here. And then if you don't want to mess around individually like that, you just click the sync button and it can be controlled from this side only. And then we have this 8-speed automatic transmission. You have to push this button in right here, and then the parking button is actually located in kind of a weird spot. First time I drove it, I actually thought I put it in park when I put it in reverse. I wasn't thinking about a park button right here, but once you get used to it, I'm sure it's no big deal. And then we have a little cubby right here, USB port, auxiliary port still. That's kind of rare nowadays on new cars. And we got cup holders right here. We got a toggle switch for the infotainment system. Back button, just like in the Mercedes. And then this is very interesting. So the car, of course, has a heated steering wheel. Now, most cars only have one setting of heat for the steering wheel. So this one has two, actually. Here's, I guess, hot. And then this is just warm. Most of the cars that I've owned and that I've been in that has heated steering wheels, they're either scorching hot, they almost burn your hands, or they're not warm enough. So I guess Genesis was thinking about that when they put two heat levels to choose from. And then, of course, we have cooled seats, which is, in my opinion, one of the best inventions ever for passenger and driver. Now, for the ceiling here, we have microfiber suede. And if you think about it, I mean, how often do you actually touch the ceiling of your vehicle? I don't think it is very often, but I have to say it's nice knowing that you have suede ceilings. It just looks very, very nice. You do touch this sun visor a lot though. We have a sunroof as well, of course, but we're gonna keep that closed today. Very, very hot. Sunglass holder right here. And with that, I think it's time to take it out on the road. So the G90 does feel like a large, full-size luxury sedan should feel. It feels like you're floating. It is such a comfortable car to drive, although the rear seat is the best place to be. And with this car being a luxury, full-size sedan, which we've said now many times in this video, it's not supposed to be a loud growl from this V8. I would be surprised, as I haven't driven the 3.3 liter V6 engine alternative that you can get for this car, I wouldn't be surprised if there's not really that much difference in the tone from the engine. Now, Genesis has something called Genesis Adaptive Control Suspension with electronic damping control. It's a very fancy name, and I think that's what makes this car feel so good on the road. Don't ask me about the engineering of the actual suspension. I won't be able to educate you on that, but in layman's terms, it sits very comfortably on the road. And again, that's what a car like this is supposed to feel like. It's not a performance car, it's not a sports car, even though it has a 5-liter V8 and it has different driving modes. You can put it in sport. We're currently in smart. But let's talk some more about the segment where this car actually resides and where it is trying to make its mark. As we mentioned in the beginning of the video, when you're thinking of a full-size luxury sedan, you're most likely thinking BMW, Audi, Lexus, or the Class King, which is the S-Class Mercedes. Now, it's very difficult to find one of those cars under $100,000. And if you start checking all the boxes, don't be surprised if it's close to $200,000. Now, the G90 actually starts at right over $68,000 and fully equipped like this car here with the 5-liter V8 and the Ultimate package, which is all you can get. It's right over $75,000. So pricing, as we said, very, very competitive. But I think the problem in this segment is that a buyer of a car like this, someone that has money, because let's be honest, if you drive an S-Class, you drive a BMW 7 Series, a Audi A8, or let's say a Lexus LS 560, you have good income. So those type of individuals, are they going to be wanting a Hyundai? Are they going to want to drive a Genesis G90? Is it the same status as an S-Class or a BMW? No, they're not, and that's why the price is $75,000. I don't really think that Genesis is trying to steal market shares from the German brands. They are reaching out to the people that might have always wanted a full-size luxury sedan, but either can't afford to pay, let's say, $130,000, or they just don't want to pay that much money for a vehicle. Boom, you have the Genesis G90. So to sum everything up here, I think it's very hard to beat the overall value of the G90. JD Power in 2017 actually ranked it highest in the premium segment for its quality. That says a lot. The overall feel you get when you sit in the car, when you drive the car, when you just experience it with the quality and the drivetrain and the price, yeah, that's hard to beat. If you compare it to a Mercedes, BMW, or Audi that can cost almost twice that fully optioned. The G90 is definitely a car that needs to be experienced, whether it's from the driver's position or a passenger position. So if you are in the market for a full-size luxury sedan and you haven't already looked into the G90, I definitely recommend that you check it out. And with that being said, I once again want to give a special thanks to Wright Automotive for providing the car in today's review. If you live in the tri-state area and you are in the market, definitely check them out. I'll have all their contact information along with their inventory in the description below. And if this was your first time visiting this channel and you haven't already and you want to, please subscribe, and I'll see you guys very, very soon. Bye-bye.